My name is Lynn Phillips, and I am co-owner of the L.E. Black, Phillips, and Holden Funeral Home on McGuffey Road, and serve in the capacity as licensed funeral director and embalmer. At present, Henry Holden, my partner, does all of the embalming, and I'm on most of all of the funerals, along with other funeral directors there. Not embalming that much in these days, especially beyond the pandemic, because 54 years, which I have in with the state of Ohio, has been enough of service in that capacity. That's the major work role in a funeral home. So I'm basically with the families and out on funerals. Well, I graduated from East High School in 1964. And with my mother being whom she was, there was just no way that you sat quietly and did nothing. You didn't just go to school and do your academics and not become a part of a social or a structure of service anywhere in the community. So I was always a part of the YWCA. Y-Teens was very active back in that day and time. And many of us in that high school agenda were active at the YWCA through that organization. And many things back in that day seemed to focus around the YWCA. In fact, I started with the YWCA when we used to call it the Colored Y, and it was out on Rayan Avenue. That's before they moved into this building. That's where I actually started with the YWCA. And then by the time I entered high school, it was here, just the one Y, and this is where all of the activity took place, and this is where we came. And of course, the men's Y was further out on West Federal. Most people don't know that history, but that's how we started at the YWCA here in Youngstown. It's odd to think that we had a black Y and a white Y, but that's the way it was. That's the way it was, yeah. She lived to be 88, and she had written her own autobiography, if you will. And during her time of education, which was very important to her, as a matter of fact, I think right now, my mother, with education being so prominent in everyone's mind, I'm sure she would have been Dr. Bessie Coston, because beside going on for her bachelor's and her master's, she has extra credit work at YSU and then the university in Pennsylvania that she attended. And I am sure she would have been Dr. Bessie Coston without a shadow of a doubt. But during those times, she even volunteered at the YWs during the summer months, because in Indianapolis, she was at the YWCA Director of Older Girls Activity and program director of Neighborhood House in Columbus, and having gone to Wilberforce University, she was diverse in even the academia areas that she attended. That school was basically connected to the AME Church, and that's where my mother had her beginning in service to the Lord, also with the St. Andrew's AME Church here in Youngstown. So she became connected to that area of the country. And then her employment went from supervisor of counseling, and in 63 she became a member of the staff here at the Youngstown Y, the main YWCA, because that's all there was by that time. And being on the staff at that time, then she was promoted, and she worked her way through to the assistant executive director, and then promoted in 1970 to the executive director of the Youngstown YWCA. And we were very, very proud of that. All of us were by that time. I became licensed in 1970. And to know that she was the first African American head of this particular organization was overwhelming to me, because it came from a date of the separativeness that I knew and learned as a child, a young person, to the connected the two together, And from that point on, and knew that she started as that executive director. I was very proud of that. Very, very proud. And I mentioned to her, and I hope I can say it at this time because I carry an article with me that states that she was at that time, and this was a Vindicator article. I keep this article in my car because when she was appointed by Mayor Jack Hunter to the Youngstown Metropolitan Housing Authority, she was then the executive director. But you know, on all of our jobs, we face days and times when things seem very, very tedious. Sometimes we want to throw up our hands and give it up and say, oh, forget this. I'm not going any further. I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But I look at my mother's picture, and I know some of what she endured in the days and times that she came through, and she survived it, and she made it, and still kept elevating in positions. And because of that, I can't give up. I can't throw up my hands. I have the responsibility to follow in her footsteps because she set a path for me to follow, and I mean to do that and be that type of a person in my own contribution. And I keep telling my grandchildren the very same things. I have 2 granddaughters, and even my grandsons. There's 5 of them. But don't give up. Just keep moving. You've got to keep moving and doing what God instructs us to do. That's what we're here on earth for. So I appreciate it. I just appreciate all of what she has left me, the legacy that she has left behind. Oh, I appreciate it. She wanted nothing to do with the funeral business. I might add that. There was another young lady, and I've tried to mentor young ladies that wanted to follow suit in the funeral business, but that wasn't my mother's choice of careers. She was totally social services, activity in the community, helping people. I constantly have had people come to me and tell me how my mom helped them get a job, even when she worked, and she did work at the employment services for years, along with everything else that she was doing, but she was always out there helping in the community. And that's what I keep trying to push on to them and hope they're getting it. They don't see me functioning like I saw her, but I keep telling them. And I call them and I say, I'm still working, I'm at work. Or if they call me, I'm at work, so I'll call you later. You know, because it's time. Everybody thinks I'm going to retire or I'm retired. Not so. I'm still moving forward, and that's what we've got to do. First of all, you've got to know who you are within yourself. Nobody can tell you who you are. We were all created and sent to the earth realm, and that's the way I say it, on purpose. And if you can learn your purpose at an early age, that's wonderful. Many of us don't know our purpose. I knew I wanted to be in this field when I was in high school. I was inspired by a woman who was a funeral director and embalmer, Mrs. Maddie Alexander Moss. And when I saw her, it was something like a light just flipped on the inside. I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. But then I watched my mother, and not only was she active in an organization such as this, but I remember from my mother also, she was a sorority woman with the years in college that she had. And not only did she serve in the local and the state organization, she became national president and served a term. And that in itself was unusual, that a woman from Youngstown, Ohio, would be the national president of the Iota Phi Lambda sorority, which is a national sorority. But I saw her do that. I saw her also be an organizer of the National Council of Negro Women here in Youngstown. And watching her do those, because wherever she went, she usually had me going right along with her. I was an only child. And not only was she the organizer, but she was the first president with several other ladies of that organization. And having been affiliated with Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, I'd hear her talk about her as a girl. Seeing all of these things and being a part of that, their programming, along with the Y programming, it just became a part of my life. a part of my existence. And I truly believe if you strive to help, if you strive to give the best that you can in service to the community of which you're a part of and which you belong to, when you do that, it's recognized, and you don't have to blow a horn. You don't have to run around telling it. People recognize it. Others see it. Reverend Elizabeth Powell always told me, she said, never try to fight a battle for yourself. The people will fight for you. You take care of people, and people will take care of you. And that's what I followed with my mother down through the years, just watching and observing how she unselfishly gave her life, her energy, her talents to this community, and it followed her all the way through to her death, even beyond that, as people keep coming back and telling me these things over and over again, and all the organizations still recognize her. So they are very, very conscious. She's pictured with the national presidents of her sorority, and that's still overwhelming to me. Nobody close to Youngstown, Ohio went there either. So I see what has been done. I'm not trying to make a national acclaim for myself, trust me, but to just give the best of your service. Give as much as you can. I am not even considering retirement until it's all that I can do. And when I can't do anything else, I'll still be a part of my church and serving in this community as she was and as she did. She followed her favorite scripture, the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. Where he leads, we will follow. If we make that our daily prayer, let me be guided by he who sent me, he who loves me, who protects me, and I adore him for it all. I want to do all I can while I'm alive to pay it back. That's what it's about.